When we are going on a long camping road trip, I want our travel journey to be just as pleasant as the destination. But it always feels kind of stressful and chaotic during our travel days. Partially it's because the cats absolutely hate to travel and they're very vocal and they let us know it. But I can't blame everything on them. The other part that makes it feel really stressful and chaotic is when we start throwing things into the cab of the truck that we need for our journey part of the travel days. I want a way to be able to kind of organize them and corral all of that clutter so that we can remove the chaos. We could actually enjoy the trip down the road, whether it's going to be looking at things that we're seeing out the window in some beautiful country, or we're in, like going through Texas or something like that, where there's not a whole lot to see out the window. And then we want to be listening to one of our really awesome audiobooks and enjoy the journey that way. Whatever it is, we want to clean up inside the truck in a way that makes it feel like we are on a peaceful journey. So I decided to ask Pete to help me devise a plan so that we could corral all the clutter and remove the chaos, but I wanted to do it without spending a ton of money on gadgets. So here's what we did. One thing that's amazing is when you don't have a really good space to put or a container to put garbage in, here's what ends up happening. It starts getting packed into any little nook and cranny, like, the side pocket in the door of the truck. Not a good thing. When you start pulling things out of the truck that you are in the little nooks and crannies that you forgot were there, that's a sign that you're not organized. These things can save marriages. When you're backing up, when he's backing up and you're trying to back him up, or vice versa, and you're screaming at each other because the diesel engine is running and you're trying to yell over the truck noise, outside the window, over the trailer, and communicate with each other, that can really be one of those, what are those moments, those t-shirts, sorry what I said when we were trying to back up the camper, one of those things. These things are amazing. They will absolutely help you to stay married when you're RVing. I bet you there's keys in here that were from vehicles that we used to own that we don't own anymore. We do actually use our underseat storage. This stuff is pretty organized. The thing that we're going to do first is get rid of all the garbage. We're going to put like things together. Now that we have pretty much gutted the truck, Pete is going to be cleaning a little bit. Not real much, because we're going to be going on a really long road trip into some really dusty roads and some really awesome boondocking sites. So he will do a halfway decent job, but we're going to do a real detailed job when we get back. When you think about it, if your spouse is like, hey, that's clean enough, and you're like, this is grossing me out and it's really making me feel kind of like stressed and like overwhelmed and anxious, then it would be, you got to kind of find that happy medium. I'm not going to try to be a total clean freak, and he is not going to try to be a total, what was that comedy show back in the, 70s or 80s, The Odd Couple? Like we're, one is a total clean freak, the other one's a total slob. We're not that bad at all, but we definitely do have different tolerances when it comes to how clean is clean enough. So we love boondocking. We love being out there in dirty, dusty-ish conditions, because those places always give us really awesome views, or at least most of the time they do. Really awesome views, and they give us a lot of space between us and our neighbors. So we prefer boondocking for those reasons, and so that kind of means that we put up with not having totally clean vehicles. So that's okay with us. So we're looking for a happy medium, halfway decent clean, organized to the point that when you are looking for something, you know exactly where it is, you know how to find it. He's gonna wash my watch. But there's things that we found in the glove compartment, for example, that we would actually use on a trip that we wouldn't even know were there. We've thrown out all of the garbage and we've got things like things in piles together so we can figure out what we really need to keep and what we want to get rid of and what we might need to add to our collection for all of our travels down the road. Oh, look, this one doesn't work. Your favorite one.
It works fine. It works perfect.
Let me see.
Works great. It's another tire checker.
Oh, that's all it's good for because the flashlight doesn't work. See, this is why we do these things. You got it working?
Yep.
Nice. I'm going to grab a couple of these. We just got back from the dollar store, so I am going to pull out all the stuff that we got and kind of organize it and get it ready to put into the truck now. I have a nice little garbage can. These are small, little, actually scented kitchen garbage bags. It's a mountain fresh smell. And I like that it's a small garbage can because I don't want to take up too much room on the floor of the truck. So I wanted something that was that had a small footprint on the floor, but a little bit tall so it could handle a good amount of garbage. I'm gonna just tie this bag like this and put this little loose knot in here so that when I start to throw things in here, it will stay instead of having the whole bag go down into the can. I've got this cute little vacay bag, which is going to be our kind of like beauty bag. I've got hand sanitizer. We always have one of those in like one of the drink holders in the truck, but then we don't have a place to put our drinks. So this is a much better solution. I'm gonna put one of those in here, and then I'll put the backups in the trailer. This is a glass cleaner, little fabric thingy. And I'm gonna leave that in here because they stay cleaner. And this is lens cleaner spray. So I'm gonna put that in our little beauty bag because it kind of makes sense to me that all that stuff would stay together. As long as I don't overstock this bag and it zips easily, we're in good shape. That's part of my problem sometimes. I try to overstock things, overstuff things. But I think this should work. So it's an easy bag to spot and know where everything is all in one spot. This is our next basket that has a lot of things that we're going to use for paperwork and that kind of stuff. I also have some pouches for our glasses. So when we switch over from sunglasses to regular glasses or whatever, this will be easy. I got two colors. The blue will be for Pete and the pinkish purple color for me, because you know I like pinkish purple. Then we've got all of our kind of office-y stuff. This is a dry erase board, and I'm going to use this in a little bit of a unique way. I printed up what we use as our pre-departure checklist. So I do things inside, Pete does things outside so that we can we have our own jobs and we stay organized. But have you ever driven away and you're already like on the road and you go, oh, I wonder if I latched the refrigerator. And you're worried that when you arrive at your destination, your next destination, you're gonna find that the refrigerator door flung open and there's food all over the floor. So we want to avoid that. So we stick with the checklist. And, you know, we have an aviation background, so we're sort of used to checklists. So what I'm going to do, instead of writing all of these things on this dry erase board, I printed up our inside checklist and our outside checklist, and I am going to just go ahead and mount that on here, and then we'll be able to check off each thing as we do them. I want that pen on this side next to where we're going to check things off the list. I'm going to use this double stick foam tape, mount that on there. So if I ever decide that we want to change kind of the order that we're doing things or whatever, It'll be easy to print up another one of those and then re-stick it to the board. So we're not actually writing on the paper itself. Okay, now I've got my little board here. So every time you finish one of the things that you need to do, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make a little check mark right there, or a little line to show that I did it. So now we're both organized, we both know what we're doing. And then on the next trip, all you do is go in and erase that little mark and you've got your checklist all ready to use again. I have a second dry erase board, and that's just for like if you get something that's kind of like an oddball thing that's going on and you want to have a reminder for yourself, you can write it on the dry erase board. You can stick it near the steering wheel or something so you make sure that you deal with it before you leave. Sort of a miscellaneous, don't forget, blah, blah, blah. The last thing that we have are these little things, which is from the makeup section. I'll show you how we use those, and we'll put all this stuff together in the truck and we'll be ready for our next trip. Let's go outside. Before we actually start putting all of this stuff together, I want to identify all the spots in the truck that are easy to access when we're traveling and those that are not. And then kind of put things in a place where, hey, we don't need to get to that very often, so I'm going to bury that. And then in the other things that we need to like get to immediately during a trip and we know we use frequently, I want those in a really accessible spot. We've got this little section down here, which is an area that we are not going to be able to access easily. The other thing I want to organize is miscellaneous paperwork that is related to the truck and trailer. I've got an envelope here that is going to hold all of that miscellaneous stuff. I will keep that along with our Ford stuff and put that in this spot where I know where it is. I know I'm not going to need it very frequently. That's going to go in there. Our radios. We actually do need these to be in a good spot that we can easily get to as soon as we get to a campsite. So I am going to leave these, and we keep them wrapped up in this little towel so they don't get all scratched and gnarly. I can actually fit them in here. The other thing that we want to make sure that we have really accessibly available is two things, and we're putting these in the side pockets of the door. One is each door is going to have its own flashlight, and we're also going to give each door a just a little rag. So if we have a spill or something and we need a quick wipe up, those are available, and I will put those in here. Our pre-departure checklist is something that we're going to completely finish before we actually take off and like start driving. So I'm going to put this right here because when we load Max, when we load the cats, we will be taking this thing and putting it down. So that's going to stay there. It'll be secured, but it's going to be easily accessible while we're loading and before we actually take off. So that's going right there. These are just plain kitchen towels. And what we're going to do with them is we're going to roll them up and we're going to stick them in the side over here. And the reason that we're doing that is when you are driving, and have you ever been driving or riding and you've got some little thing that you're dealing with and you drop it. Or it might be a big thing like your phone and it slides between the seat and the console. Well, that's not going to be a problem anymore because we're putting this here. Same thing with when you're eating like things like chips or nuts or whatever. So instead of letting all that kind of stuff and garbage fall in here, we're going to put this little dam here, and if it gets dirty, you pull it out, you wash it with your towels, and you're done. It's good if you can find these that kind of match the color of your vehicle, your interior, because then they don't really stick out so much, they sort of blend in. Why would you ever use a makeup powder puff thing inside your vehicle? I'll tell you why. You can put these in your drink holders, and there's this little thing where you can just pull it right up. It is a great thing because it does a couple of things. If you spill something, it's going to absorb that whole spill up. If they get dirty, you pull it up, throw it in the washing machine, and you're done. So It's a really nice thing. And if you've got you're in a humid climate and your drinks are all sweaty and stuff like that, then this is going to catch all of that so that you're not dripping all over yourself while you're driving. And these happen to come in a nice little container, which we are going to use for something else. I mentioned that these maps are something that we use frequently. I want them really accessible during travel, but they're big and they're bulky and they're hard to manage. So what I ended up doing was I got this little basket. I like the basket because it's small, it's lightweight, it's flexible, and I can put all of these things in here and just sort of curl them around so they're all in one spot. I am going to take my reservations out of this thing, and I'm going to put those in a folder. Now I have all of our reservations that are specific for where we're going on this trip right here in the front of this packet. The other thing that I want available here is my little magnifying glass that I use. It already has its own case, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that right in there. This is the America the Beautiful stuff that we will need if we're going to certain places within the federal recreation system. And then I've also got a little card here with all the contact information and website information for that. So I'm going to put that in its own little envelope. Now I just want a little pouch for a notepad and some pencils, and this is that one handy dandy little flashlight. That'll fit in this little envelope here. Nice and neat. Every envelope stays kind of color coded, and you do, you know what is in each one. I'm also going to include in one of these my meal plan. I can look and see quickly what is for dinner and what I need to take out the next night. So all of that kind of planning stuff is all in here. These are things that I'm going to want to have available when we are driving. So I am going to put those right down here. And even though they're sort of like top heavy, they're going to stay right here in this corner and stay organized and be out of the way. Now all of these extra cords, we are going to clean these up. This is actually connected behind the dashboard, so I'm going to leave that where it is. Instead of having the cords out when we're not using them, that's what I'm going to use these little containers for. This is our beauty slant sanitation little bag. And so that is something that we're going to want to be able to get to when we're driving. So I'm going to put that right in here in the glove compartment. This is that little notepad thing. There's some places where like you need to you have to actually check out with the host or something like that, which is not common for us in where we go. So how I would use this is I would say check out with host. And I am going to leave it up here on the dashboard in a spot that we know we're not going to miss it. So that's our reminder. When we're done and we're not using it, then we will erase it and put our little handy dandy pen there, put this together with this, and we're going to store it right under there. It's always handy to have your vehicle spec information with you. So if you come across a highway sign that gives you a limit, like a height limit or a weight limit or something like that, instead of trying to remember exactly how long you are, how high you are, how much you weigh, it's easier to have a little placard. So we've got this. I wrote this on a little bit of sticky tape stuff. And I want it on the driver's side so it's easily accessible. So all that we need to do, whoever is driving, is flip the visor down and you've got all that critical information right there. So you know if the limit on the bridge is less than 12 feet 6 inches, you probably need to avoid it, and you probably don't even want to be close to that. Super easy to flip down and flip up so that information is right there. Our shades for our window coverings I'm going to put these in my door, and they fit really nice and tight in there. They're out of the way, and they're easily accessible if we get somewhere and we need some shade inside. These are our glass cases, and I'm going to put those in this little indentation up here because if we need to swap out quickly from sunglasses to regular glasses or vice versa, then those will be right there and easy to get to while we're driving. The last thing I'm going to put up here is the food because we want to have the food right next to us when we're traveling. The fact that these things are flexible is what I really like about them. You can kind of shove them in a spot that they will fit, where if it was a hard-sided plastic, it wouldn't fit. Once this is empty, I can actually nest these two things and take up even less space up here, but I've got plenty of room in here now for me to sit and have tons of leg room. And I've got my little Izzy on my lap, and we are ready to go. I am leaving deliberately space in here for other things. I don't want to jam it up, and I know that eventually as we travel, we might want to have something that we throw in there. If I wanted to, I could put our glass cases in there with our glasses in there and keep this even more clear up top. So plenty of room, plenty of space. Once we get traveling, I take Izzy out of here and she actually just sits right on my lap. And then I can break this thing down and just throw it in the back seat, and it's out of the way there too. We're leaving shortly for a long camp trip. The first stop is going to be a 2-week boondocking destination, and it is gorgeous there. We can't wait to get there. If you want to see how we set up our campsite when we're boondocking, we've got an entire video on that. I'll leave a link for that in the description below.